There is a bit of controversy about the Sega Genesis Mini 2 lineup, in particular about some games that are in the Mega Drive Mini 2 lineup, but are not in the Genesis Mini 2 lineup. So people were a bit bummed out that some games made it in the Japanese system, but not on the one for Westerners. Personally, I don't think it's a big deal, but I wanted to address it and explain why that happened. Also, just a great chance to quickly go over each game and see what they are about, which is super interesting because Sega is putting not one, not two brand new games like with the Mega Drive Mini 1, but eight brand new games plus some old game improvements.
Megadrive Mini 2本体収録タイトル紹介 Phantasy Star II 帰らざる時の終わりに
Alright, Phantasy Star II. This is my favorite game of all times. This is a 1989 Sega in-house release, and it's basically a cornerstone in classic JRPGs. But back then, the Western audience wasn't really accustomed to playing any of this stuff, so they had to bundle a huge guidebook with it. When this came out, as far as I know, when this came out, this was the biggest video game ever made. Like the sheer size of this game. This was a 6 megabit cartridge. Yuji Naka literally begged them to have a bigger ROM size, and they were like, what about the deadline though, Yuji? What about the deadline? So he slapped at the office and still made the deadline. This game had a 2.5 months development cycle. It's insane how good it is despite that. Like the full development cycle was 6 months, but that's with like testing, planning, and debugging. Just insane masterpiece. But it makes sense that they put it on the Mega Drive Mini 2 and not in 1, because this is a very old game, guys, so it's just hard to get behind by today's standards. So good move for them to put Phantasy Star 4 in the first Mega Drive Mini and keeping this gem for the second one. For Phantasy Star 2, they're also including the usual quality of life options that are included in collections for these games, such as increased walking speed, double experience, double meseta, and that kind of stuff.
Tatsujin.
Alright, so Tatsujin, you guys might know this game as Truxton. It's basically a classic by Toplan. Now, again, a 1989 release. It's an arcade port, big deal when it came out. I think especially because of the full-screen bomb. It was recently re-released by Toplan with a Toplan Mega Drive Shmup collection. I'm not a big fan of this game. It's kind of boring once you get even decent at it. Just pick the blue weapon, but it's a nice classic. A lot of people are fond of it, and I respect the game for what it did. Also, for this Mega Drive Mini 2 version of Tatsujin, aka Truxton, they had the music slow down to match the real speed of the music, like in the arcade, which was originally mismatched due to 50 to 60 Hz timings. Although I think the actual game plays faster as well, but they're not fixing that.
Sorcerian.
Alright, Sorcerian, a 1987 Falcom classic. Now, this is very cool that they did this in the first place back then for the Mega Drive, because this is very much an original version than the one for the PC-88, right? The Mega Drive version has unique levels, a unique soundtrack scored by Bo, Tokuiko Owabu and Hiroshi Kubota, who are the two OGs of not only Sega sound, but basically Mega Drive sound engineering. They're the two guys that created the SMPS sound engine, and they made this rearranged soundtrack from the Falcom original. This manual on the Mega Drive is insane.
Afterburner 2.
Alright, so I had Afterburner 2 as a kid. It doesn't play as good as the arcade one, nor sound nearly as good as the arcade one. They later made a 32X version that was much better, but it's still Afterburner, so it's pretty dope. Can't really get excited for arcade ports that don't over-deliver. I just wonder if they're gonna have some improvements on it. I don't think they are, but it would have been nice if they had done some of these sprite scaling improvements that they made on Space Harrier 2, as we'll see later, to this one. Yeah, I would say maybe this is the least impressive to me of the entirety of the lineups.
Granada.
Okay, Granada. This is one of the Wolf Team ports from the Sharp X68000 computer over to the Mega Drive, along with Arcus Odyssey, and Final Zone, aka FZ Sankey Axis. So this is a top-down shooting game. It's pretty cool.
Megapanel.
Alright, this one's fun. This is a Namco game that's exclusive to the Megadrive and to Japan even. It only came out in Japan. This is a match 3 game, but with sliding puzzle mechanics, and you get to reveal a girl's picture as you progress into the stages. But no nudes, no pornos. Alright, Gambler Jiko Chuushinha. This is a cool one. This is also a Megadrive Japanese cartridge exclusive, and it is from an anime. Not only that, but it's from Game Arts. You guys are gonna see a lot of Game Arts video games on this lineup. Hey, Mahjong, you should learn to play some Mahjong. The Mahjong video games are pretty cool.
Star Cruiser.
Dude, Arceus the God, Star Cruiser, where to begin? Okay, first off, they're actually making improvements to this version. This is a Mega Drive port of the PC-88 Classic, I want to say, by Arceus. As you can tell, it's kind of have some 3D perspective. Yeah, it's basically a 3D game. This game is insane. It comes from the future. I think the original was in 1988. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. The Mega Drive version has a fan translation. The game also came out, notably, other than the PC-88, for the X1 and the PC-98, but those versions are all the same. The X68000 version, however, it's got all redrawn graphics and portraits, so those are the two cool versions of the game. I don't know how well the Mega Drive version fares compared to those, probably better than Xenoblade does, but for this game and other games that you will see later, they came up with a toggle pre-game, a toggle that you can activate to enable the TerraDrive CPU specs so that the game actually runs better and faster with less slowdowns. Interesting to note about this though is that the toggle will actually mess up the intro speed, but you're just gonna have to switch in and out of that, I suppose, when you wanna watch the intro first. Every game by Arceus is a miracle game though, right? Today we're playing a game by Arceus, guys. Today we're gonna play Night Arms on the X68000, a Sharp X68000 exclusive. Everything they put out is a miracle game from the future, basically. Like, it's insane. Oh. Alright, this is a game everybody should play, and everybody should play the Mega Drive version. Game Ground is the most unique game, maybe, of all times. Definitely on this lineup, I suppose. But Game Ground's amazing. It's a good blend of top-down action and strategy. You can play co-op, and it's great. You can play it alone. The Mega Drive version is the ultimate version, according to the developers as well, because it includes an extra world, an extra set of 10 levels that was not present in the arcade version because they had to cut it, they couldn't make it. And it's the coolest one because you go through the future and stuff like that. Just amazing game, Game Grand. Alright, Nadia and the Mystery of the Blue Water. This is an interesting one. This is also put out by Namco with their home label Namco T. This is a Japanese exclusive, a Mega Drive exclusive game based on the anime conceptualized by Hayao Miyazaki. And it's a cool adventure game. There's no battles, it's just adventure games. So like talking, walking around in towns, which is always nice with all the little sprites. And it's got pretty detailed pixel art cutscenes. Jig in chat's also telling me that this was made before the anime ended, so it has a original ending.
Midnight Resistance.
This is just another great example of the home ports on the Mega Drive from arcade games having something new, something nice. In this case, my favorite component that's new and nice to this home version is the soundtrack, where the sound engineering is made by Hitoshi Sakimoto, who you might know for Final Fantasy Tactics, or on the Mega Drive, like a bunch of good sounding stuff like Master of Monsters, Gauntlet 4, and the list could go on forever here. Hey, if you like the video so far, you should press the like button to spread some Mega Drive power around. Thank you, appreciate it.
Shining and the Darkness.
Alright, the guy said Shining and the Darkness because that's what the game is known as in Japan, but we had it as Shining in the Darkness. This is a game I grew up with. It's a cool game. It doesn't have anything particularly sick going on for it. This was the guy at Camelot or Climax really just wanted to do what he saw Western developers doing. At the time, there were a lot of dungeon crawling RPGs, and this is what this game is. In this game, you can see already the defined character design, which you will later see by other Camelot and Climax titles in the Shining Force series and the Landstalker series. I wouldn't recommend people, oh yeah, play this game, because it's really like, it's just old school, repetitive, like 80s shit, although it came out in 91, you know. But yeah, the music, do the tavern music. Yeah, guys, this game has a track which is the tavern song that's just a... The coolest thing about this song is that when you are browsing the town, which I think they copied later in Arcana for the Super Nintendo, the coolest thing is that when you approach the tavern, you're gonna hear the song, but it's low audio. And then when you get into the tavern... This is another great example of a cool Megadrive port from the arcade. This is Sega's own game, I think, and Bonanza Bros' Megadrive port is very cool. It's pretty much just like the arcade version, but on the museum stage, there is a lot of references to Megadrive games like Golden Axe, Phantasy Star II, Fantasy Zone.
Outrun.
This game doesn't need an introduction, definitely not from me, but Outrun is a classic from the arcades, one of those games designed by Yu Suzuki with a hero soundtrack, hero being Hiroshi Kawaguchi, and there you go. Alright guys, the Mega Drive Outrun also has an original song.
Populous.
Alright. Populous was a very surprising one to see on this list for me, because this list is the Japanese Mega Drive Mini 2 list. It doesn't have a lot of Western games. I think there's about 3 Western games. Now, this is a classic by Bullfrog, British developer, and it's just a god game. You might know Bullfrog from games like Syndicate, Powermonger, which are also on the Mega Drive incidentally, Theme Park, Theme Hospital, Dungeon Keeper.
Tenka Fubu.
Okay, Tenka Fubu. This is another Game Arts game. This is a Japanese exclusive, a Mega CD exclusive. There's a lot of Game Arts games in this lineup. This is cool to see a quality historical simulation strategy game that isn't from Koei. Not to take anything away from Lord Ko Shibusawa from Koei, but nice.
Wonder Mega Collection.
Wonder Mega Collection Game Garden. This one's really interesting. This was the bundled pack-in compact disc when you bought a Wonder Mega. What is the Wonder Mega? It's Victor's own licensed system that could play both Mega Drive and Mega CD games. It came with this, and the screenshot you're seeing is the original game that is bundled with it, which is a quiz game, but it also came with some of the Mega Drive games that were downloadable at the time through the Sega Game Toshokan service, which you might know as the Sega Channel. It came with Flicky, Paddle Fighter, and Pyramid Magic. The quiz game's called Quiz Scramble, and it also has karaoke stuff. I bought Paddle Fighter. Okay, Magical Taruruuto-kun. This is a game developed by Game Freaks, which you might know for Pokemon. Now, it's just as pretty as colorful as their other game on the Mega Drive, which is Pulseman. This is a cool game. The Mega Drive version is pretty unique. This game has a bunch of versions because it's made out of an anime slash manga. Magical Girl Silky Lip. I have this game. It's pretty cool. I always wanted to play it. I haven't yet. It's branded Riot, so it's got ties to like Telnet, Wolf Team, or what have you. It's a cool game. It's an adventure game with battles of different kinds. You go around with your girl sprite. It just looks great, man.
Lunar, the Silver Star.
Alright, this is a Mega CD original JRPG. The localization was made by Working Designs, and people are pretty pissed that this is not on the American Genesis Mini 2 lineup. The reason why that is, allegedly, although the sources seem reliable, I have to say allegedly, is that Victor Ireland still owns the rights to the audio of the 2 Lunar games, because there's another Lunar game coming up. Although the rest of the rights are owned by Game Arts, because again, Game Arts, a lot of Game Arts games in the lineup. So, still allegedly, Sega is paying out flat rates. It's not paying out royalties to get back these licenses. So that's why Lunar, the Silver Star, and Lunar Eternal Blue are not in the American Western English lineup. King Colossus. This game is great. This is one of the 2 best action RPGs on the Sega Mega Drive, in my opinion, but that's also a fact. And it is a Mega Drive exclusive and a Japanese exclusive. Although there is a good fan translation, I recommend you play through. This game would be the 2nd collaboration between Sega and Makoto Ogino, the author of a popular manga and anime back then called Kujaku-O, which you might know as Spirit Warrior or Peacock King. Now, the Mega Drive game Kujaku-O 2 was localized as Mystic Defender. The first game came out on the Master System. This game is great. The soundtrack's great. It's got the same composer as Biohazard Battle or Crying, so it's got that ominous feeling to it, but with some more melody. It's just a great game. There's not a lot to say. You should play this game. Alright, Dodge Danpei now. As you can see, it's your typical dodgeball game. Nothing too original about this, but it features a lot of detailed backgrounds, a lot of different teams and bosses you go up against, and a soundtrack by Izuho Ippo Takeuchi, the composer. You might know her from Phantasy Star 3 or 4, Dark Wizard, and all of that good stuff. Now, for this game, we know from the good lord at Twitter that the bosses dialogues were actually made by the original manga author, and here are some design documents revealed for the occasion.
Thunderforce IV.
Alright, this is the game the West hails as the best Mega Drive shmup. I disagree with that by far, but very cool game, impressive visuals. This is another one that on the Mega Drive Mini 2 is going to benefit from the Terra Drive CPU mode as to reduce slowdowns.
Splatterhouse Part 2.
Alright, Splatterhouse Part 2. This is cool because this is a Mega Drive exclusive sequel to Splatterhouse, the arcade game. Furthermore, although it's labeled as Namco, because Splatterhouse is a Namco thing, this game is developed by Now Production, which is like the best shadow developer, contract developer house that you probably don't know about. They worked on a lot of famous and less famous series. My favorite less famous game they worked on is the light gun masterpiece game on PlayStation 1, Rescue Shot.
Chelnov.
Atomic Runner Chelnov, or just Chelnov in the Japanese version, is another great example of a Mega Drive port that far exceeds the arcade original.
Sangokushi III.
Ah, yes. We need more Koei good stuff. Sangokushi 3, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 3. Not a lot to say about this. The interesting fact to point out for the Mega Drive Mini 2 is that you're gonna be able to choose between the Mega CD version and the cartridge version. Probably the most popular out of the more modern Koei historical simulation strategy series.
Dennin Aleste.
Yeah, Dennin Aleste, Nobunaga and his Ninja Force as the subtitle for this game, and I could leave it at that. Just gonna point out how this is a Mega CD exclusive, but not a Japanese exclusive. This compiled vertical shmup, very typical, came out in English as Robo Aleste. Dude, the box art in this game.
Ninja Warriors.
Alright, the Mega CD version of the Taito classic Ninja Warrior features a CD-arranged soundtrack by Zuntata. That's all you need to play a game, honestly. And it retains some of the screen estate, the screen resolution of the crazy three monitor setup that the Taito original game had. They quite like to do that with this Raston 3 Darius. Wait, what's this? There is an insane live-action intro movie with Zuntata on the Mega CD version of Ninja Warriors. Nice.
Final Fight CD.
Final Fight CD, yet another arcade game ported to the Mega CD. This is a pretty good version, probably up there with the X68000 as far as the best home ports of Final Fight CD go. This has an exclusive survival mode, which I think is the most interesting thing I can tell you about this. Alright, yet another Taito arcade game ported to the Mega CD here. We have Night Striker. This is going to be supported with a Cyber Stick that they're also releasing together with the Megadrive Mini 2. Not a lot to say. Night Striker is probably like if Darius met Outrun, as you get to choose your path in Darius style. In this Super Thunderblade reminiscing game, Thunderblade, Space Ever, that kind of Sega super skiller deal. Cool game. Yeah, right. Alright, this is a game you have to mention when you talk about technically impressive games on the Mega Drive. X Ranger, aka Ranger X. A game that makes wild large use of the 6-button pad is developed by Gao. Gao has big ties to Wolf Team because they spawned from Wolf Team, and later they would be acquired by Nextech, which you might know for another masterpiece that is going to be in this lineup, which is Ragna Senti, also known as Crusader Ascenti, also known as Soleil. Alright, Seal Feed. Just look at this game, man. Just look at this game. Polygonal enemies rendered in real time through FMV, I think, is the technical deal of this game that was ported over to the Mega CD from the arcades. Now, this was the first thing on the to-do list for Okunari, the producer for the Mega Drive Mini 2 at Sega. They contacted Game Arts. You see, there's a lot of Game Arts games on this lineup, which is a good thing. And then M2 started testing Seal Feed right away. They had a hell of a time actually getting this game to run properly, whereas they had a great and easy time with Sonic CD, but then they like grossly overestimated how long it would take them to get this to work properly on the Mega Drive Mini 2.
Aah Harimanada.
Ah, yeah. Now, this is the only sumo game on the Sega Mega Drive. How cool is that? This is based on the early 90s manga and anime called Aah Harimanada. It's a pretty cool one. And the game is sick. The art is great. The movesets are hilarious. The loyalty to the IP is nice, but the most impressive thing to me is the soundtrack. This is an extremely good, atmospheric sumo soundtrack.
Sonic the Hedgehog CD.
Alright, this doesn't need a lot of talk from me. Introduced the characters of Metal Sonic and Amy Rose. Most interestingly, there are two entirely separate soundtracks between the English and the Japanese version, and also had that gimmick about the time traveling. Yes, yes. This is another arcade port. It's a nice detour from the usual gloomy Columns mood. If you played Columns 1, you know what I'm talking about. This has a really fancy theme with like chickens, and the English version has that random dude, whatever. And the soundtrack's really good and very cheerful. On the Mega Drive, it also supports the multi-tap, so you can play with 8 players. This is such a nice game. You can also customize your jewel icons. You can turn them into bananas and stuff like that, and you can change the stage. They say 8 players, up to 5 players, up to 5 players. All right, Night Trap in the Japanese lineup with a full voice dub in Japanese. Highly controversial game in the 90s. It was censored hardcore. Like during development, it was censored hardcore. It was supposed to be just violence, but to make do with the executives, they had to resort to weird, non-direct violence with these like masked dudes dressed in black clothes, like using long-range thongs to strangle people. It was weird, man. Alright, Mansion of Hidden Souls is the English title for this, I believe. It's an adventure FMV game, kind of a point-and-click vibe to it, so that's cool. Alright, this game, Mansion of Hidden Souls, had a sequel on the Sega Saturn, which was called The Mansion of Hidden Souls.
Shin Megami Tensei.
All right, this is a big improvement over the Super Nintendo version of this. It's Megami Tensei. How cool is that box art? Pretty dark dungeon crawler RPG where you do weird stuff.
Virtua Racing.
All right, now I wouldn't necessarily be excited to play this over the arcade original. This was a big deal when it came out. You can see the cartridge is shaped a lot differently from any other Megadrive or Genesis cartridge. This is partly because it contains an extra chip, a really rare tactic. I don't know of any other licensed official games that are in Popful that have an extra processor. Here it says Sega Virtual Processor. So yeah, that was a tactic more often employed by the rivals or at Nintendo.
Popful Mail.
Alright, this is another one. People in the West are mad, crazy, pissed that they didn't get on the English lineup for the Genesis Mini 2. It's the same deal as Lunar as far as I know, but this is a cool version. There are 3 distinct versions of Popful Mail. One which is the Mega CD and PC Engine CD version. One is the Super Nintendo version, and the other one is the original PC-88 computer version. Cool side-scrolling action game with RPG elements and multi-character choices.
Shin Souseki Laguna Senti.
Yeah, man, this is my favorite game, man. Like, this game is a masterpiece. This game is a masterpiece. A lot of people are happy that this was put on. This is the other action RPG you have to play on the system that I was talking about. This one is more cute than King Colossus, but don't be trapped into thinking it's any less serious. The plot can get pretty dark. It's got this unique mechanic where you collect animals and link them to your sword, up to 2 animals to create combined effects. And as an action RPG, it has a lot of bosses, but also quite a few puzzles. And it has, in my opinion, the absolute best soundtrack on the Sega Mega Drive by sheer quality, cleanness of sound, and variety of instruments. It's a great game. You might also know this as Crusader Recenti in American areas, and Soleil in its European release. Shin Souseki Laguna Senti. Alright. Garo Densetsu 2, you know this as Fatal Fury 2. Alright, Jiggy from chat here is telling me that this actually came out after Fatal Fury Special, so to kind of make up for it being an old version, Takara went nuts and like rebalanced the whole game and added a bunch of stuff. So the mechanics are totally different.
Super Street Fighter 2.
Alright, the Mega Drive Mini 1 had the other Super Street Fighter 2. Dude, the naming conventions are so stupid for these. You have Special Championship Edition on the first, and on this one now we have the new Challengers.
Shining Force CD.
Alright, Shining Force. Everybody knows about Shining Force most likely. What you might not know about is that this Mega CD compilation is actually divided in 4 books. It's a compilation of Shining Force Gaiden and Shining Force 2, The Sword of Haja, with redrawn graphics, so that makes it pretty cool. As a result of that, you will not have towns in this, so it's just a sequence of battles. Have to flex the physical copy of the games to gain reputation with the YouTube community, guys. YouTube retro community is all about having the physical copy and never having played the game. Oh, it also has original scenarios.
Captain Tsubasa.
This is one that the Japanese guys, when they lost their freaking mind about, because first off, this is a licensing miracle. This is a licensing miracle. Not only it's a Captain Tsubasa game, which is an extremely relevant, used to be, anime. Now, the big reason why this is a licensing miracle is that it has about 30-ish voice actors on it. So that had to contact all of them. Ultimately, they did, and they managed to secure the deal. So this is crazy. Now, something interesting I can tell you about this is that technically this is not the only Captain Tsubasa game on the system, because there is a game called Tecmo World Cup on the Megadrive, which is basically Captain Tsubasa stripped of its license. It's literally this game, this blend of turn-based, adventure-styled soccer game. Have you ever played Final Fantasy X? Remember Blitzball? That's exactly it. Blitzball is a clone of this style of game. Now, the Mega Drive version, albeit not having the license, is pretty funny. You can unlock and do stupid stuff like the Mega Drive shot and the Terra Drive shot, where you shoot at the upper post, the ball bounces back and you do a flipping kick and it's pretty funny. Alright, Starblade. Here is another sick game. Now, this Namco arcade title was ported to the Mega CD by Technosoft, which you might know for Thunder Force and stuff like that. The original game used real-time 3D polygon graphics in 1991. This 1994 version, though, uses wireframe graphics to render the enemies, unlike the other ones, which use FMV and polygons like Sylphie does.
Lunar.
Alright, there's the other Lunar game, 2 years after Lunar Silver Star. Again, people are pissed because they don't get these on the English ones. Alright, Ichidan to Aru, puzzle and action. You might recognize the character design style from the Bonanza Bros game. Now, the Mega Drive Mini 1 had Tanto Aru, so this is the sequel, Ichidan to Aru. Interestingly, the Astro City Mini also had these games. This is a puzzle game. It's really cool. It's time-based puzzles. You can play competitively. What is really interesting about these games is that the Mega Drive versions offer different puzzles from the arcade ones, so they're really worthwhile. Alright, this is a marvel. This is a marvel, and it gives us something really interesting to talk about. The Japanese release of Echo the Dolphin 1 had this really cool case, which is white, and it just looks beautiful. Sadly, the inside of the manual doesn't have any original artwork, but this is cool enough. The Japanese version of Echo 1 was made considerably easier by turning every crystal into a checkpoint, removing the little annoying homing enemy, which is later in the prehistoric stages, just kills you over and over again, and also giving you a checkpoint at the start of the final boss without you having to redo the alien machine auto-scroller stage every time you die. This is the Mega CD we're talking about. Echo the Dolphin CD is actually a Japanese exclusive compilation that features Echo the Dolphin 1 and Echo the Dolphin 2, The Tides of Time. In the American lineup, you'll just have the two games separately.
Alien Soldier.
Visual shock, speed shock, sound shock. Now is the time for the 68,000 Heart and Fire Alien Soldier for Mega Driver's Custom. That is the meme made popular by this game's title screen that started on the original Japanese advertisement for the console. The visual shock, speed shock, sound shock part. Now, Alien Soldier is a game by Treasure, but truly is a game made by one dude who I think credited himself as Choco Monkey. And then at the end, I had to come in and rescue him and help him. As a result, the game is largely unfinished. But unlike Light Crusader, you don't know it is until you look up the lore and the facts. The game was supposed to have all these extra bosses. 7 Force was supposed to have 7 faces. There is no ending, although there is a mid-game insane lore drop cutscene. None of it makes any sense. It's beautiful. It's one of those technical jewels on the Mega Drive. It's a boss rush game. It's just a really cool game. Yeah, here's the good stuff that makes the system worth it. Phantasy Zone. Now, on the Mega Drive, we had the Sunsoft Super Fantasy Zone, which is excellent, but this is actually a brand new port of the arcade classic Fantasy Zone. Now, this is made by Hidekade. That is the alias for Hideko Konishi, who is the guy that already did the sick Darius 1 home port that was featured in the Mega Drive Mini 1. So they picked that up and they just polished it to perfection to release on the mini system. This is just one of the 8 new games. Man, I've been wanting to play this game on the Sharp X68000 for a while. This is also out on the PC Engine CD. It's a puzzle game, and this port, but this is a huge surprise. So, a brand new, if you can say that, Megadrive port.
Sanrin Sanchan.
Sanrin Sanchan. Some people say that the character here was the inspiration for the Chow thing in Sonic Adventure. Now, M2 made this like a decade ago. This is an arcade game from 1984. They tried to fit it in the Sega 3D Classics collection. So this has been sitting on the shelf for a while. Alright, this, you might have noticed, we entered the bonus section. Now, the reason why this is counted by the Japanese audience as a bonus game is because despite Viewpoint being a Japanese developed game, both on the arcade and on the home consoles, it never came out in Japan on the Mega Drive. On the Mega Drive, it was only released in the States. This also has a TerraDrive mode on the CPU to reduce slowdown, and it's an isometric shmup. If you're familiar with Zaxxon, this is what Viewpoint is like. Dude, listen up. Recognize that? That used to be Raideen, the famous hit song by YMO, Yellow Magic Orchestra. They actually changed it to the Raideen tribute cover by Shinji Hoso's band or something. This is another port that M2 made like a decade ago and tried to fit in the Sega 3D Classics collection. So it's been sitting on the shelf for a while now. Insane. This is a 1982 arcade game. Let that sink in. Look at that. 1982 arcade game.
Party Quiz Mega Q 2022.
This is where Sega started to go full meme and completely insane. Now, in case you don't know, Mega Q, Party Quiz Mega Q is an old Mega Drive game. This is the 2022 updated version with 3,200 brand new questions made by Miyazaki, Hiroyuki, I think Miyazaki, the big guy you see at the Japanese announcements for the Mega Drive Mini and the Mega Drive Mini 2. He wrote over the 3,200 questions himself. It was the last thing he wanted to do before retiring. Now, the interesting thing technical here is that the original game could only fit 3,000 questions. He had M2 expand the ROM side, but that's not where the madness ends.
Party Quiz Sega Q. Ready, go!
Did you hear that? Did you see that? Look at the announcer, look at the cover art, listen to the voice. That is Takenobu Mitsuyoshi as the announcer in this second version of the game called Party Quiz Sega Q with Sega branded questions. This one has 2,000 questions, I think. And I mean, they just went full meme at this point. There's not a lot to say. You might know Takenobu Mitsuyoshi most likely for his Daytona USA soundtrack. He was also a member in the SST band, the in-house Sega band, after Hiro left as the keyboard player, Hiroshi Kawaguchi. Easily the most surprising of all of the announcements. This is a game nobody knew about. Even when it came out in the list, the Mega Drive Mini 2 producer was like, even when it came up on the list, people on the producing team were like, what is this? Debitopi, Devil NP, like the devil character and the angel character. Although the title screen says 1993, this is a 1992 game developed by Takashi Iizuka in his internship period as Sega when he was a trainee. Takashi Iizuka, you might know him because he's now the chief of Sonic Team. Now, a lot of these games people would do in their internship period at Sega would then get released in the Sega game Toshokan, like Awarg, Paddle Fighter, that kind of stuff. But this is unheard of. So it's just a really nice surprise. This is a brand new Megadrive game getting released. I say brand new, but it was made fucking 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I take it back. Maybe this was the most surprising one. Nobody could have seen it coming. This is it's a sort of demake of the Saturn Puyo Puyo 3, where sun is a wordplay because 3 in Japanese is sun. Now, this says Futaride. This only features the versus mode, but it features new rule sets, and player can choose one rule set or the other, kind of like how you can do in Puyo vs Tetris. This is a demake. I already said that. Now, they got the classic Puyo Puyo era, Compile era illustrator Ichi to do the box art. Some old Compile staff members work on the game as well. And I got a little extra for you guys. They somewhat changed the cross attack that Satan does. So it's still a cross. That's pretty cool. That's so cheeky. I love it. They censored the cross. There's still a cross. Also, yeah, they when they presented it, they had like professional old Puyo players. I mean, old Puyo games, right? When they presented it, they had professional Puyo players show it off in a versus match. It was pretty cool. So this is another brand new Megadrive thing. Like they remade the soundtrack and everything, right? It wasn't well received due to the gameplay changes. I know it features a lot of differences in the rule set choices in this particular version.
Space Harrier 2.
And this is the final reveal of the lineup, and you might think, hey, this is just Space Harrier 2, the 1988 released title for the Mega Drive together with Super Thunderblade, but it gets deeper than that. You've seen how they did like Tera Drive CPU support for some games to support us to have them have less slowdown, but for Space Harrier 2, they went the extra mile. They retouched the game software to have it have. They retouched the game software to make it have smoother sprite scaling. So it's actually gonna be smoother, akin to the arcade original. And speaking of the arcade original, that's also supported. Just like the Cyber Stick's gonna be supported playing this game if you buy that, which is more expensive than the actual system, by the way. That is the lineup for the Japanese Mega Drive Mini 2. Now let's quickly go and look over at the American or just Western Genesis Mini 2 games that are different.
Sega Genesis Mini 2 featured games.
All right. Starting with a banger and an exclusive. This one isn't in the Japanese lineup, interestingly, so this is pretty well curated, I think. Arcade port, Sega Classic, cool cabinet with a bike and everything. And there is an original mode. This is cool. All right, so Herzog's Fight, Meaning 2 in German. This is Herzog 2, technically. There's a game called Herzog, which is more of a simpler vertical tug-of-war real-time game on the Japanese computers such as the PC-88. This is a Technosoft game. It's the earliest Technosoft game on the Mega Drive, I want to say. It's 1989. In 1989, also Thunderforce II came out for the Mega Drive by Technosoft, but that's not an original Mega Drive game. This is a real-time strategy game, one of the very early games in that genre, together with Megalomania. But you can go as far back as 1981 to see what's probably the first RTS game, Utopia, on the Intellivision. Alright, this is an updated version of the 1988 game, Rainbow Islands, the story of Bubble Bobble 2. This wasn't actually released in the States. This is only released in Japan, so it's nice they're kind of localizing it for the occasion. The Revenge of Shinobi, the Super Shinobi, a game made by the Shinobi team with a Yuzo Koshiro soundtrack, which is really good. Old style game, very nice. It notably used to feature a bunch of illegal cameos from like Arnold, Spider-Man, Devilman, Batman, Godzilla, Rambo. I'm not making this up, I'm not. That all got cut away later because it was illegal. Hellfire. Now, like like Truxton, aka Tatsujin, this is a toppling shmup ported from the arcade to the Megadrive. Unlike Truxton, this home version is pretty different. I'm not a big fan of this game. Your sprite is huge, but it's definitely a cool shmup and faster paced than other toppling shmups ported in the Megadrive, like Zero Wing, which is kind of slow and boring. You also get Populous. Alright, you get not one but two Shinobi games exclusive to the English Megadrive Mini 2 release. This is Shadow Dancer. This is a port of the arcade game, unlike Revenge of the Shinobi, which is an original Megadrive game, but it is very different from its arcade counterpart, so a nice, worthwhile release. Alright, Rolling Thunder 2. This is a Namco arcade game, but the Megadrive port adds like cutscenes between the stages, a passer system, and several new levels, bosses, and enemies. Nice exclusive to the English Megadrive Mini 2. Well, Golden Axe 2. I hope you don't need an introduction for this game. Just in case you do, you should just go ahead and play it. Golden Axe 2. What else is there to say? I see that. Alright, we got some hardcore Rob Hubbard gems by Electronic Arts. Desert Strike Return to the Gulf. This is an original Megadrive game ported over to everything. Alright, Warsong. Warsong is the localized title for Langrisser, a strategy RPG series by Masaya, and the Megadrive had two of the titles, Langrisser and Langrisser 1. Now, the localization is not actually very good. I think there is a fan patch that retranslates the game. A very, very nice addition. I think the Megadrive Mini 1 already had Langrisser in its Japanese variant, though. Sewer Shark. Alright, Sewer Shark was like the bundled game in the West with the Sega CD, as it was called in the States, as opposed to the Mega CD, the original title. This is a on-rails FNV shooter. And just like Night Trap, this game was actually supposed to be released on the Cancel Control Vision console by Hasbro. Obviously, it's all scaled down, so you have the border around and shit like that. Also, I'm told by chat that Sewer Shark is one of the first games to use the meme line of pretend it's a video game. This is a Technosoft shmup. It's a vertical auto-scroller shmup where you're a guy and you can actually turn around and face up or down. This game's great. The soundtrack is fantastic. A song or two are even featured in Devil Crash MD, Technosoft's own take on the pinball classic by Naxat. Right. As previously stated, Echo 1 and 2 are gonna come in their own separate releases, and as you can hear, Echo the Dolphin's gonna be the CD version, actually, with the improved soundtrack. I prefer the cartridge one. Right. Toe Jam and Earl in Panic on Funkotron. This is a extra field, secret field, side-scrolling game you can play in co-op, simultaneous co-op, or alone, which is the sequel to Toe Jam and Earl, which is a completely different kind of game. This sequel is entirely different. It's a side-scrolling game. Another very nice addition people are really gonna like. Right. Streets of Rage 3, aka Bare Knuckle 3. I am very surprised they put this one on the English one, because this game is known to be not only slightly censored in English, but also messed up. Like, the difficulty of the game was blown out of proportion, so much so that the game is not even as enjoyable anymore from the Japanese original. I'm curious if they're going to make any changes in that regard, but keep the game in English. Alright, Outrunners. This is a very peculiar choice. As you can see, this game has forced split screen, which together with the reduced sprite scaling capabilities, of course, and graphical prowess compared to the original System 32 arcade game, Outrunners, makes it a not so great version, and for that reason I am pretty surprised by it. Alright, Shining Force 2. This game is well regarded as far as the genre of tactical RPGs go. There's not a lot of those in the Mega Drive. There's Vixen, Shining Force 1 and 2. The Mega Drive Mini 1 had the hybrid front, but although that's getting a fan translation soon, the West doesn't really know much about that game. But once that fan translation comes up, you should check the hybrid front. I digress. Again, here's the other Echo game. On CD, Echo the Tides of Time, separate. Dude, who could possibly get mad at Clay Fighter? I don't understand how somebody could get mad at Clay Fighter. The game is awesome. Look at that. It's a cheese You're fighting a fettuccine monster named Taffy who's pink as an evil frostman in a cheese factory. People, oh, where's my anime? I want to play Lunar and Snatcher. I can't masturbate to this. Alright, Ristar, 1995 Mega Drive exclusive platforming game. Really colorful, really bright, nice music. You extend your arms to grab things. You gotta play this game. Right. The Ooze. The Ooze. Oh, where to begin with The Ooze, dude? The Ooze features an amazing concept and a great soundtrack by Howard Drossing, whom you might be familiar with thanks to Comic Zone. But the game is not that good. It's really boring. The stages are really repetitive and plain. It has that design where you have to play through 3 stages that are the same stage with the same assets. And just doesn't hold up. It's just really slow and boring. But the most interesting thing I can tell you about the Ooze is about its Japanese release, because you see, this game was really late in the life cycle. The Saturn and the PlayStation 1 were pretty much there. Here's Howard Drossing, by the way. You know who also was involved with this game? Mark Cerny. Now, here's the Japanese box art for this game. I'm not kidding you. They had no money for the marketing, no budget for the marketing or packaging for this game. So this was the Japanese cover art for the Ooze. On the front, you see the little circles. Those are omitted characters and words. And on the back, reversed, like mirrored, it reveals what it is. And this is the most mundane stuff. This is a huge meme. It tells about the most mundane stuff about the autumn and about how you shouldn't follow trends. And actually, it worked. It caught the eye, it caught the interest of people. And in the cover is actually reversible. If you reverse it, this is the alternate cover. And it's presented like a novel would, right? Like by the author of. Look, he even got a fake thing. It's got a you gotta be like 18 to play this game. It's just a full meme. This game was developed by STI, Sega Technical Institute, basically the developer studio for Sega of America, which you might know for Kid Chameleon, Comic Zone, Sonic Spinball, the Dynamite Deca game, the Die Hard game. All right. Now, the most interesting thing I can tell you about Earthworm Jim 2 is actually about this jingle that plays in the intro. That is a pretty interesting use of the GEMS sound driver, the GEMS engine. GEMS get a lot of frack, but it's actually a great tool. And it had good sample support. So there was a lot of memory space consumed to create that intro theme with those samples. Now, this I have a little bit more to say on Sonic 3D Blast, aka Flicky's Islands, because you actually rescue Flickers in this game. This is a game by Traveler's Tales that the guy on his YouTube channel, Game Hut, in the last years has been sharing a lot of secrets and interesting behind-the-scenes technical details on how to do this kind of stuff. This game was really impressive, especially for its intro. The game features this pre-rendered cinematic CGI intro, and the way they actually fit that in the cartridge is a technical marvel that we're definitely not gonna get into but just interesting to point out. That was the most impressive thing about this game. Alright, Vectorman 2. I didn't play Vectorman 2, I played Vectorman 1. A lot of the levels and soundtracks and backgrounds were reused. I don't know how much better Vectorman 2 is. I was really appalled by how people were hyping up Vectorman 1. Really late title, 1996. It takes place in the present as opposed to the original game, Vectorman. And the English Genesis Mini 2 also gets all of the good bonus stuff, which is just going above and beyond by Sega, shows how much care. It just blows every other mini console effort that was ever done by humanity this far, and just makes the system work just to play this stuff that you cannot otherwise play normally. That's right, the Genesis Mini 2 actually doesn't get the cool quiz games, because of course not. You couldn't. You had to do like new questions. The original party game Mega Q it was a Japanese exclusive as well. So yeah, I mean I pre-ordered the Japanese one. Let's talk about the menu for a second, guys. In the menu of my Japanese Megadrive Mini 1, you can change the language. When you change to English, not only you get the American cover arts for the games, but it also changes the language for those games that support it. Now, I'm sure, 100% sure, it's not gonna make Lunar, the 2 Lunar games, playable in English, because they don't have the license to do that. But like if you buy the Japanese Megadrive Mini 2 and you switch to English and you play Bonanza Bros, for example, the text is gonna be in English, because that's how it worked on the Megadrive Mini 1. And because I saw the announcement live, I know that the Megadrive Mini 2 is also featuring a sick medley by Yuzo Koshiro this time as well. When I listen to it, it's got a piece of Phantasy Star II, it's got a piece of Shining in the Darkness. It's good. Now, if you want to see how people reacted to the American lineup, you should watch this video next.